The 1919 United States one dime, more widely known as the Mercury Dime but officially titled the Winged Liberty Head Dime, represents not only a piece of American coinage, but also a tangible symbol of the nation's character, artistry, and ideals in the early 20th century. Struck in the aftermath of World War I, during a time of great transition, industrial expansion, and optimism, this small silver coin carried immense meaning in its compact form. Designed by the acclaimed sculptor Adolf A. Weinmann, who was born in Germany in 1870 and immigrated to the United States as a child, the Mercury Dime emerged from an era of artistic reform in U.S. coinage that sought to elevate everyday money into miniature works of art. President Theodore Roosevelt had long advocated for more beautiful and symbolic designs on American coins, believing that the nation's currency should reflect the dignity, liberty, and creativity of the republic itself. The design that Weinmann created in 1916, continuing through 1945, replaced the utilitarian barber dime with a more allegorical representation of American freedom and intelligence. On the obverse, the coin features a portrait of Lady Liberty facing left, wearing a winged Phrygian cap, an ancient emblem of freedom since the days of Rome and Greece. The addition of the wings to her cap was intended not to represent the messenger god Mercury as popularly believed, but to symbolize freedom of thought, the intellectual liberty that lies at the heart of a democratic society. Surrounding her serene profile is the word liberty, while below appears the national motto, "In God We Trust," and at the bottom, the date 1919, marking its creation just 1 year after the end of the First World War. To the right of Liberty's neck, the sculptor's initials AW are delicately engraved, a signature that acknowledges Weinmann's artistry and vision. The reverse side of the coin is equally rich in meaning, displaying a Roman fasces, a bundle of rods bound together with a central axe, symbolizing strength through unity and the authority of law, concepts that resonated deeply in a country that had just helped secure victory for the Allied powers and was seeking peace and reconstruction. Wound around the fasces is an olive branch, representing peace, balance, and the hope of reconciliation after the violence of war. This juxtaposition of strength and peace is one of the most powerful visual messages in American coinage, the idea that liberty must be defended through unity and strength, but that the ultimate goal of such strength is harmony and peace. Surrounding the central image on the reverse are the inscriptions, United States of America, across the top, E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many one along the right and one dime, along the bottom, clearly identifying the denomination. Each element of the coin's design was carefully considered to convey a message of unity, moral strength, and intellectual freedom, values that define the American identity at the time. Technically, the coin was composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, weighing 2.5 grams with a diameter of 17.9 millimeters and a reeded edge. It was struck at 3 U.S. mint facilities in 1919, Philadelphia, which bears no mint mark, Denver, with a small D mint mark, and San Francisco, with an S mint mark, each producing millions of coins for circulation, approximately 35.7 million from Philadelphia, 9.9 million from Denver, and 8.85 million from San Francisco. Though those numbers seem large, the survival of high-quality examples is much scarcer, as these dimes were used heavily in daily commerce throughout the 1920s and 1930s. Because they were minted in 90% silver, countless examples were later melted for their bullion value when silver prices rose, further reducing the population of well-preserved coins. The Mercury Dime's beauty lies not just in its design but also in its context. America in 1919 was a country of contrasts, emerging from war, entering an age of technological innovation, and undergoing profound social changes, including the approach of women's suffrage with the 19th Amendment in 1920. The small silver dime passed through the hands of returning soldiers, factory workers, farmers, and families who were rebuilding their lives, and in each transaction, it represented trust in the nation's stability and the shared values of liberty and unity. The inscriptions themselves, Liberty, In God We Trust, and E pluribus unum, captured the essence of the American creed, connecting spiritual faith, personal freedom, and collective identity in a single, cohesive message. In terms of collectability, the 1919 dime today is cherished among numismatists not only for its silver content but also for its artistry and historical resonance. Circulated examples typically fetch modest values based on silver melt, around a few dollars, but well-preserved coins with crisp details, particularly those showing next top. The 1918 United States one dime, popularly known as the Mercury Dime, stands as a brilliant embodiment of America's artistic renaissance and national spirit during the early 20th century. Officially titled the Winged Liberty Head Dime, this coin was designed by sculptor Adolphe Weinman, whose vision reshaped the appearance of American coinage. First introduced in 1916, the design replaced the long-running barber dime, signaling a shift toward more expressive, symbolic, and artistically inspired currency. The 1918 issue, struck during the final year of World War I, carries immense historical resonance. On the obverse, or front side, appears the youthful face of Lady Liberty, modeled by Weinman's muse, Elsie Stevens. She is shown wearing a Phrygian cap adorned with wings, a symbol of freedom of thought, progress, and enlightened spirit. Although the image resembles the Roman god Mercury, messenger of the gods and bearer of wings, the figure is in fact Liberty herself, representing the vitality and independence of the American people. Surrounding the portrait is the bold word liberty, a hallmark of the nation's values, while the motto, "In God We Trust," appears to the left of Liberty's neck, underscoring the United States' enduring faith even amid the uncertainties of war. The date 1918 lies below, anchoring the design in one of the most transformative years in U.S. and world history, when the First World War was drawing to a close and a new era of global diplomacy was about to begin. The reverse of the 1918 dime is equally rich in meaning and artistry. At its center stands a fasces, an ancient Roman symbol composed of a bundle of rods bound together around an axe. This emblem, used in the Roman Republic, represented unity and strength through cooperation, the idea that individual rods, representing the states or citizens, are weak alone but powerful when bound together. Surrounding the fasces is an olive branch, a timeless symbol of peace. Together, these elements express America's commitment to both peace and readiness, ideals particularly meaningful in 1918 as the United States helped bring the Great War to an end. Above and around this composition are the inscriptions, United States of America, and the national motto, E pluribus unum, which translates from Latin as out of many one. The denomination one dime is engraved at the bottom, completing a design that merges classical heritage with modern American ideals. Weinman's artistry gives the coin a depth of symbolism that transcends its small size, turning it into a miniature sculpture that celebrates the nation's values of liberty, unity, and peace. The 1918 Mercury Dime was struck at 3 U.S. mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D; and San Francisco, S. The mint mark, when present, is located on the reverse near the bottom left of the fasces, just to the right of the letter E in 1. The Philadelphia issue had the largest mintage, while the Denver and San Francisco issues were struck in smaller numbers, making them somewhat scarcer. Composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, the coin weighs 2.5 grams and measures 17.9 millimeters in diameter, with a reeded edge to deter clipping, a practice once used to shave off bits of precious metal. The intrinsic silver content gave the coin not only monetary value but also a measure of intrinsic worth tied to the precious metal markets of its era. During its circulation, a single dime held considerable purchasing power. In 1918, 10 cents could buy a loaf of bread, a newspaper, or a quart of milk, essential goods for American families adjusting to wartime shortages and economic change. From a production standpoint, the 1918 dime was crafted using the same intricate die engraving and striking processes that made the Mercury series famous for its fine detail. However, the complexity of Weinman's design sometimes caused weak strikes, particularly in the central bands of the fasces. Collectors today pay special attention to dimes that exhibit full bands, where the horizontal bands tying the fasces rods are sharply defined and unbroken. These details demonstrate a perfectly executed strike and are prized features that can dramatically increase a coin's numismatic value. Many 1918 Mercury dimes circulated heavily during the 1920s, a decade of post-war recovery and economic transformation, leading to significant wear on surviving examples. As a result, well-preserved, uncirculated, or mint-state coins are considerably rarer and more valuable, often commanding hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction, depending on mint mark, condition, and strike quality. Beyond its physical attributes, the 1918 Mercury dime serves as a symbolic reflection of America's identity during a time of great change. As World War I came to an end, the coin circulated through the hands of soldiers returning home, industrial workers powering the new American economy, and families rebuilding their lives next top. The 1917 United States one-dime coin, commonly referred to as the Mercury dime, is one of the most admired and historically significant pieces in early 20th century American coinage. Officially known as the Winged Liberty Head dime, it was designed by Adolph A. Weinman, a noted sculptor who also designed the Walking Liberty half-dollar. The coin was minted from 1916 to 1945, replacing the Barber dime series that had been in circulation since 1892. Though popularly called the Mercury dime, it does not actually depict the Roman god Mercury. Instead, it features Lady Liberty wearing a winged cap, symbolizing freedom of thought, liberty, and progress, core ideals of the American identity during the early modern period. Around the obverse, the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date 1917 appear in raised letters, each a statement of both national faith and constitutional heritage. The design's elegant artistry reflected the Renaissance revival in U.S. coinage at the time, initiated by President Theodore Roosevelt's call for more beautiful and symbolic coins to better represent America's cultural maturity. On the reverse side of the 1917 dime appears a fasces, a bundle of rods bound together around an axe, representing strength through unity and the authority of justice. This ancient Roman emblem stands upright and is surrounded by an olive branch, a traditional symbol of peace. The combination of the two, the fasces and olive branch, embodies America's dual commitment to peace and preparedness, ideals that were especially resonant during the World War I era in which the 1917 dime circulated. Above the design runs the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, which reflects the unity of the states forming the nation. The coin's denomination, one dime, is inscribed at the bottom, completing a design that marries classical symbolism with patriotic purpose. The 1917 dimes were struck at 3 mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. Each mint produced slightly different quantities, with the Philadelphia mint leading in total output. The absence or presence of the mint mark, found on the reverse near the base of the fasces, helps collectors identify its origin. All 1917 dimes were composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, with a total weight of 2.5 grams and a diameter of 17.9 millimeters, giving them both intrinsic and numismatic value. Because the U.S. was still on the gold and silver standard at the time, these coins were not only currency but also small stores of precious metal wealth. The production techniques of 1917 relied on high-pressure minting with steel dies that captured the fine details of Weinman's design, though wear and die deterioration sometimes softened the intricate lines of the fasces and the wings on Liberty's cap. In circulation, these coins developed a beautiful patina, and many surviving examples exhibit varying degrees of toning, bluish, golden, or rainbow hues, prized by collectors today. The rarity and value of a 1917 dime depend heavily on condition and mint mark. While a well-worn example may be worth only its silver content, uncirculated or mint-state specimens, especially from the San Francisco or Denver mints, can command hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on their strike sharpness and surface luster. Historically, the 1917 Mercury dime also occupies a unique place in American culture. It circulated during the height of World War I, when the U.S. had just entered the conflict, and coins like this one symbolized the ideals of democracy, courage, and unity at a time of global upheaval. The phrase, "In God We Trust," on the obverse gained even deeper meaning as Americans turned to faith during wartime. Meanwhile, the combination of strength, fasces, and peace, olive branch, on the reverse served as a subtle statement of America's readiness to defend liberty while striving for peace, a theme echoed later in U.S. coinage and even political rhetoric. From an artistic perspective, the Mercury Dime marked a triumph of early 20th century American design, rivaling the beauty of European coinage and representing a departure from the more rigid, Victorian-era style of the Barber series. Weinman's craftsmanship, blending neoclassical inspiration with American idealism, made the 1917 dime not just a medium of exchange, but also a miniature work of art. Its balance of form and symbolism continues to earn it a place among the most beloved U.S. coins ever produced. Even decades after the series ended in 1945, the Mercury Dime's influence persisted, most notably when the design was echoed in the modern 2016 Winged Liberty Centennial Gold Dime, issued to commemorate the original's 100th anniversary. Today, collectors and historians view the 1917 dime as a window into America's transformation during the early 20th century, a period of industrial progress, artistic awakening, and international emergence. The next top. The 1923 dime is officially known as the Mercury Dime, though its proper name is the Winged Liberty Head Dime. It was minted by the United States Mint between 1916 and 1945. The coin gets its popular nickname, Mercury Dime, because the image of liberty, wearing a winged cap, is often mistaken for the Roman god Mercury, symbolizing freedom of thought. Designed by Adolph A. Weinman, one of America's most talented sculptors and engravers, the Mercury Dime is celebrated for its beauty, artistry, and symbolism. On the obverse front of the coin, Liberty faces left, wearing a winged Phrygian cap. Around her image is the word liberty, with "In God We Trust" and the date 1923 inscribed below. The designer's initials AW can often be seen near the lower edge of the neck. The reverse back side of the coin bears the Latin phrase e pluribus unum, meaning out of many one. It appears beside a fasces, a bundle of rods tied together with an axe blade protruding from the top, which represents unity and strength. Behind the fasces is an olive branch, symbolizing peace. Together, these elements convey the message that peace and strength coexist in the foundation of American democracy. Surrounding the design are the words United States of America and one dime. The 1923 Mercury Dime was struck in two locations, Philadelphia, no mint mark, and San Francisco, marked S. The Philadelphia Mint produced around 50 million coins that year, while the San Francisco Mint made about 6 million. There was no Denver minting for 1923. The coin was composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, weighing 2.5 grams and measuring 17.9 millimeters in diameter. Because it is a silver coin, its value can vary depending on both silver prices and its condition or grade, ranging from just a few dollars for worn examples to hundreds or even thousands for rare, uncirculated pieces with sharp detail. Collectors evaluate 1923 dimes based on their mint state, strike quality, and luster. Coins that remain bright with minimal wear are highly prized, especially those with strong, full bands on the reverse, meaning the horizontal bands on the fasces are fully separated, indicating a strong strike. Such coins can fetch premium prices in the numismatic market. The coin's value is also affected by toning, eye appeal, and whether it retains its original mint luster. Historically, the Mercury Dime embodies the spirit of post-World War I America, an era when the nation was redefining its ideals of liberty, peace, and progress. The design was part of a broader movement toward artistic and symbolic coinage in the early 20th century, alongside the Buffalo nickel and the Walking Liberty half-dollar. These designs replaced older, more conservative motifs, reflecting a shift in American culture and pride in artistry. For modern collectors and historians, the 1923 Mercury Dime is more than just a piece of silver. It is a tangible link to a time when craftsmanship, symbolism, and national identity converged in small pieces of circulating art. Whether found in a coin collection, passed down through generations, or discovered in an old drawer, it carries both historical significance and intrinsic beauty. Even a worn 1923 dime tells a story of nearly a century of American history, enduring through wars, economic hardship, and the evolution of the nation's coinage system.